What's up, fellow lords? Jumping back into some Crimson Desert. Patch 1.10 has a drop now, and this is a pretty fun one, I think. The update has a lot of world improvements, the reblockade system, expansion of new pets and mount systems, as well as mini games that they brought along with a lot of fixes in the game that makes for probably overall smoother experience. One of those I'm exceptionally excited about would be the mission dispatches. But let's take a look at some of the biggest highlights in the game. So reblockades, let's talk about that one first. I want to get to Wyverns, but let's talk about reblockades. So when we talk about blockades, the way they operated previously was you would take over an area, leave that area, and then all of a sudden somebody else would take it over. There's no kind of in between to that. It was either retaken or it was free. Now what they've done with it is they've added a flow state to it, I guess, in the best way, which makes, you know, your dispatch missions a little bit more clear. So now instead of just being a complete takeover, the reblockade will go into a new stage that's called battle and reconstruct, and that should make the whole process kind of feel a little bit more structured. So like instead of the enemies just kind of randomly taking over everything, now they basically have to go through stages themselves in order to do that. Along with that, you can suppress any of the reblockades now in your mission dispatch by going with protection. So they've changed the contribution person to a contribution assessor in each region, and that means now you can go to the contribution assessor and use contribution points, so that way you can push back against those reblockades. I like the change. It gives a little bit more choice in how your world is kind of engaged. So if there's like a specific area like a quarry, you know, a farm or anything like that that you were farming for resources, this kind of makes it so that way you can target specific places in the region to have them stabilized. So everybody's world at this point will look a little bit different in that regard. On top of this, they made it a little bit more rewarding as well. I wouldn't say they're as strong as the rewards, but they've made it a little bit more rewarding. So now when you go back and you liberate reblockaded strongholds, you'll get contribution points, provisions, trade goods, and then other items as well inside the game. So it makes it feel like it's more worth going back to do those areas to retake them, which should make like playing Unka, playing Damien a little bit better, because most of the areas you kind of play through as Cliff, and then you just kind of like, you're done. But now you can go back and you can play as Damien Unka, because those areas will be retaken and you have reason to go back and do them. This is great for replay value overall in the game. Next up, we got to talk about the Wyvern mounts, because I think that's going to be the biggest excitement of the game, though I imagine this, like, reblockades is really necessary for the game. The Wyvern mounts is something that will have a big flash for the moment, because everybody's going to be happy that they can grow these baby wyverns and then have them use as mounts. So the way it works right now is most people probably got their baby wyverns. If not, I'm going to put out a video so that way you can see exactly how you're going to get that baby wyvern and then how it grows. Once you have the baby wyvern, you're going to need to feed it tough meat, fine meat, marble meat, so that way it can then go through its growth process. It has 3 stages of growth. You're only going to be able to feed it these pieces of meat 3 times per day, so you'll have to basically use 3 days in order for your wyvern to grow to full size. So once you do that, you feed it and it's reached growth state 3, you'll be able to highlight it, and then it'll have this grow option, and at that point you can then register it as a special mount. This is a really cool direction for the pet system, in my opinion, because it's pretty cool that you can basically get that baby wyvern, grow it, and then basically it becomes a mount. They have saddles for the wyvern inside of Delicia, so you can buy a saddle for it. So feed it, raise it, grow it. We're Pokemoning up in Crimson Desert at this point. I would love to see this maybe expanded. Like, I would love, if I'm being honest, to be able to ride a phoenix. Like, I would like to be able to grow the phoenix to this monumental size phoenix and be able to ride the phoenix. I don't think I'm the only one, but I know we can't grow our Silvernus pet to that monstrous size, but I would love it. I would like it. I'm just saying, I I kind of feel that one, but it makes the pet options just a little bit more meaningful. You know, instead of just collecting them, then they operate in the background. This gives some of them a little bit more in terms of that overall pet system, you know, in terms of like them growing and then being useful. I think there's some of those things that we would love maybe to see, like pets like the weevils and stuff like that, grow to be rideable mounts as well. So not to be left out, but it is probably going to be left out, is the cuckoo bird chicks. They've now added those as well, so that way you can grow, feed them, and they become special mounts. So you know, I mean, we got the semblance of that there. I don't think very many people are going to care about the cuckoo birds as much as they cared about the wyverns. I think the big reason why people were, you know, into the cuckoo birds was because you could fall from certain distances, and then like they would have this little flap animation that would get the, you know, you wouldn't lose fall damage. So it's kind of cool. A little bit of an insight here about the baby wyverns, though. They've also added additional baby wyvern eggs, so you don't have to get the one that we all know about and inside Delicia. There's other locations inside Delicia as well, and I'm wondering if this is going to have some impact on maybe like the systems that we use for elements, because currently the baby wyvern that we grow has access to the wind element. He doesn't have access to fire or lightning or something like that. So could this be a potential system down the road in terms of growth? I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much, but I think it would be a really cool, nice touch if they added that in there overall. I mean, just the fact that they're expanding the pet systems are really cool. Next up, the things that we're going to talk about is the new mini games that they've added. So we got pinball, that's inside the Delesian Institute, or excuse me, it's at the inn near the Delesian Institute. Which also added the Marnie token exchange. So you basically play pinball and then you win Marnie token exchange, and then you can trade those in. I think it's Jasper, who's right next to the pinball machine, and those have things like the material box of fortune, abyss artifacts, artifact chests, furniture, and then like some gear crafting recipes as well. So it's really pretty useful rewards there. They also added a second mini game called Orb Roll, which is located at the Great Gate of Erdova, and it has pretty much the same rewards inside that as well. So I like these additions, just something like for you to side do. Once you kind of collect all the rewards, I don't think there's really a necessity to go back and play those games, but it's similar to the ones that they've added in Dominus at the circus and stuff like that. So this is pretty cool. So I'm really liking that. Now, outside of this, we did get some other things that they've done to the game. So for instance, the housing now has carpets as a category for decoration. So if you were a fan of doing those, they also added a cat tower as well at Furlington Farm in the Azarian estate. So that's pretty cool. They're small changes, but I guess for the players who really like the housing system, it allows you, you know, to decorate with a little bit more personality. Personally, I'm not a huge fan into the decoration system in the game, but it's there. They also gave us a book inside the game. So if you go inside your journals, there will be a book called Constellation Research, and it'll show you exactly where all of the constellation locations are, so that way you can find those constellations a little bit easier. Not necessarily the biggest quality of life improvement, but I think it's something that helps reduce the confusion that players are having with the constellation system overall. So that's a major win, I guess, for those players. They also kind of streamed out some of the combat controls and buttons, and even some of the mappings that they took from that we got in 1.9. So this is really good. The big one was they improved the keyboard and mouse configurations for secondary keys, because they weren't saving properly. I noticed that, but I didn't really seem too affected by it. Black Star got a little bit of a new ground attack, and you can see that the Wyvern has it as well. So not necessarily something big, because you don't get Black Star till way later on in the game, but once you get them, you know, you can run around and play with those fixes. So they're there. Damien got some adjustment to her damage. It doesn't feel like a nerf. Still feels pretty good. Like she still plays pretty well, I guess. And then I think one of the larger changes that I really enjoyed in this patch was the changes to mission dispatch. So now the UI change there is that mission dispatch now has the tab where everything is organized by mission type, instead of region. So it's a lot easier now to manage where your missions are because I can simply do by type instead of by region. Region made sense as one tab because you want to go one area, but really the thing that made the most sense was mission type, whether you're accessing farming, whether you're fishing, whether all of those types are now in there so you can manage those overall. I like that one a whole lot as well. There's also a new growth level UI, so in your inventory you can check the growth level for your pets and your horses. That's really good. So it's there. Photo mode has been improved as well, so we've got a whole lot of those things going. The rematch progress is also now being maintained as well. We haven't seen any improvements there though for rewards the way we are with blockades, so hopefully those fixes are coming down the line. Now outside of all of this, they did put out a dev note, and to be honest with you, it was a rather small dev note that gave us a roadmap for what they're gonna do over the course of this summer. And it wasn't the biggest of information. I'm hoping that they come out with a little bit more detail in their dev note than what we got, but it is important to pay attention so that way you know exactly the state of the game and what they have an envision for. So I'm going to talk about that here. It was way too small to basically do things. The biggest thing inside the dev note was story improvements. They are committing themselves to making the scenes more coherent, to improve the state of play. If you've played Black Desert Online, you've seen them do this. It's amazing how they do it, but they've gone through like 3 iterations of the story where they've streamlined things or they've made things make more sense. So it's really, really cool. One of the things that they mentioned in the dev note we already got, which is they are still planning more additional changes for these reblockades. They added a new phase where it's being developed so you can flow naturally inside those states, and the liberation of strongholds feel more rewarding. So they already added that. So we're probably going to see more reblockade updates. As long as this keeps playing out the way, like, you know, Shadow of Mordor goes, I'm pretty happy with it. They're also adding new combat focused content as well. So to prove your true strength as a gray main, they say they're going to share more details about it in the future. I wish they would have put at least some snippets of things inside of this dev note, but they didn't. Along with this, they talked about cross save, basically adding a cross save feature so that way if you're playing on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox, you have that cross save option as well. And then they talked about improving Damien Unka's gameplay improvements as well. So they're going to be making various adjustments to all 3 players so that way they can get that spotlight. I think I've seen a lot of people playing as Damien and people playing as Unka as well as of late, maybe just because of the hours. And then they talked about a lot of the non-combat content that they want to make improvement as well for like things like trading and farming, to address some of those things as well for, you know, that make them like inconvenient, specifically like farming, seeding, you know, like seeding in an area, having to open my inventory every time I pick a new seed, kind of weird. So we'll have to see what it is, but overall, I'm liking the direction that they're going with this game. I'm liking the updates, the speed in which we're getting these updates. I just want a little bit more information on where we're going to go from here with DLC, maybe a little bit more depth about what they're planning on doing with combat content and story improvements down the road. But I'm not complaining and getting out ahead of my skis to basically say they're not doing right, because they're listening to the player base. Go join their Discord and Reddit, and you can see that they're basically everything that people are saying inside the Discord and Reddits, they're listening and they're taking that thing for consideration. This is great. I'm enjoying the combat stuff right now. I'm getting ready to just go finish out most of the story because I've kind of done so much of the side content quest that I'm kind of locked at that point, and I'm having a whole lot of fun with this game. But I do need to get to the point where I need to wrap up. So we'll have to see, especially with all the games that came out of Summer Game Fest and everything like that that's coming down the road. I'm going to need to clear up some space inside of here to make sure that I've given this game my 100% all in its time, and I look forward to the DLC content that's coming down. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and until next time, guys, peace.